Hey guys, Shinloxy here. So this is going to be a video about, I don't know if you guys have heard of Mr. Metokur. I've been watching him for a while. Love him or hate him, he's always been interesting to me, and what he says has really been fascinating to watch. He's also the guy, the original internet aristocrat that started the whole Gamergate thing. So um, he's been on and off the internet for a while, but for the past several years, he's had some really serious health issues, what he refers to as cancer AIDS. And so he's been going to these. This is just a small list. He's started posting some of his actual problems from his medical records, and these are, I guess, just a small list of what he's actually got. So I figured I'd throw my 2 cents in, see if I could do any kind of help, because I have somewhat of a background in medicine. I'm a little bit more specialized. I'm not a doctor. I'm more procedural, so I'm not diagnostic. You know, the diagnosticians tell us what to fix and we go and fix it. So, but that said, I think I might be able to help. We'll see. At least I can hopefully point people kind of in the right direction. So the big thing, he had a recent stream, an Easter stream, and he talked about how he basically watched his mom die from a tear in her aorta, and that took like a year and a half, and all that stuff. And he's got similar problems. And so the question always is that, is there some sort of hereditary component, right? The other thing, the big thing is, people might be looking for just one issue, and it sounds like this is more than one. It sounds like it might be anywhere from 3 to 5 issues, and that sounds terrible to say, but it's very possible that it's 1 or 2 systemic issues, and then another couple minor, more local issues, and they're all just sort of, combining their powers, and it's like the planets are aligning and everything's just hitting all at once. That's entirely possible. Now, if I had to guess, right, I would say he has some sort of connective tissue disorder just from the aortic, the hereditary history of aortic tear, as well as his own problems. He's talked about, where was it? The vertebral artery dissection. He's had a heart attack, which can be caused by that. It's either plaque or the arteries dissecting as well. Spontaneous dissection of coronary arteries. That's a thing. Additionally, what else? The bone thing, right? There's a lot of issues. If I were to say focus on 2 main areas, it would be the possible connective tissue issue, and then this disorder of pituitary, excuse me. The other issues, so the pituitary gland is actually works with the kidneys, and I believe more specifically the adrenal glands. And since he has kidney stones and he has a lot of issues with his bones, the calcium's, I mean, obviously it's going into the blood, and then the kidneys are filtering it out. But if I'm remembering right, there is something with the adrenal glands where they kind of control the in and out of calcium into the cells and thus into the bones, especially if if there's some sort of connective tissue issue. I mean, your bones are what actually produces all the blood in your body, so the bone marrow. So they're very vascular. It might be something to look at, like I said. It really reminds me of Legg-Perthes syndrome, which is, as far I don't know a lot about it, but my understanding is they don't know what causes it. It's this condition where all of a sudden your bones just start to break down and they become really fragile, and then it stops and it goes back to normal. But usually you need like surgery or pins or screws or rods placed while basically you're falling apart. And I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know how long it'll take to go away. I don't even know if he has this. But the pituitary gland, if he's got some sort of disorder, I mean, that affects the whole body, right? That affects all of your growth and everything. I'd look there first. I'd look at the hereditary connective tissue thing, and I'd maybe look at the kidneys as well, because the kidneys control all they control the blood, basically. The kidneys are super important. If you don't have your kidneys, you don't really grow either. So the kidneys and the pituitary gland, those both control like your growth. Um, and honestly, a lot of these things can be explained from kidneys and or pituitary gland and or uh, connective tissue issues. Like people are thinking autoimmune disorder. I mean, I'm not saying that's not also a thing. It might be all four, right? That would be bad, but it certainly would explain all this stuff. um, so I'd recommend. I mean, who am I to recommend anything? But I would recommend a couple of things. He's already basically stopped smoking, so that would be the first one because it's not Raynaud's, it's something else. It's not maybe it's Berger's syndrome, where it's basically not autoimmune. It's a immune system reaction or an allergic reaction to cigarette smoke. And it has all sort of issues like he's got where it, will cause spontaneous dissections inside your arteries and all sorts of things, you know, um, that also is something to look into. But yeah, I'd recommend stopping smoking first. I mean, I'm. This sounds really shitty. He's probably fucked. If he recovers from this, it's probably not going to be a full recovery. Once you're on that many medications, it's very rare that you know that you. I mean, no one survives. Long enough timeline, everyone dies. But it would be nice if he made some sort of recovery. That's kind of my point. But once you're on that many medications, it's very, people don't usually come off of them. That's the problem. It's not like, oh, you go see a doctor, you get a medication, you're healed. It's like, no, not usually. That's why I'm going to recommend stuff, because if you can get off some of these things, and by the way, there's got to be some sort of medication interaction thing out there. I would definitely look at that because it might make it worse. Some of these meds might make your conditions worse. I had a doctor that his wife was prescribed a bunch of medications. Like she had some kind of issue and went to a bunch of different doctors and got a bunch of different medications. And so he was looking up the interactions, and he was like, wow, there's a bunch of interactions here, right? Because when they tell you, oh yeah, we're going to do this procedure and here's the consent form, and we've evaluated the risks and benefits and determined that this is the best course of action for you. No, they don't. They don't look at any of that stuff. They're like, you have this condition. I was taught this medicine fixes it. Here's this medicine. There's they are sheep. Medicine is not a science. It is an applied science. And the people that apply it, most of them are idiots. Okay. So, so the doctor's like looking up all these medications for his wife, and he's like, man, there's so many interactions. I should really start doing this for my patients. I don't think he did, but he had sort of that moment where, oh, maybe I should actually do that. So that's kind of my thing, right? But I would make two recommendations. One, yogurt or kombucha. Some sort of, like, no shit. Like, I would say plain yogurt, not the fat-free stuff because they add sugar. Something like that. Your immune system is primarily your gastrointestinal tract. Like, so what you eat, people think it's your nose and your lungs and all that stuff. And especially considering he's got lung issues anyway, he'll want to boost his immune system. But that determines like everything. If you drink a bunch of diet sodas, you're going to have all sorts of health problems because it changes the bacteria in your gut, and that bacteria is where you get your immune responses from. So I would recommend plain yogurt, just a little bit every day. Eat it with fruit or whatever if you don't want the plain yogurt. If you don't like it by itself. Are you going, Manny? So yeah, the plain yogurt I would recommend, and or kombucha, and also I'd recommend sauna. Very few people know this, but we have cancer in us at all times. We are constantly generating cancer cells. It's our own bodies that fight the cancer. And a sauna, it does it generates these heat shock proteins or heat shock particles like FOXO2, FOXO3. I don't remember what they're called, but they actually fight cancer and repair DNA damage. And if he's got anything like that, I'd recommend 30 minutes of sauna a day. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. Something to be aware of though, if he has, where is it, congenital dilatation of the aorta, so the aorta is dilated. Congenital just means hereditary, but they always put this. It doesn't always mean that it's hereditary. It can just happen over time as we age. What are you doing over there? But the thing about the sauna is it's basically like a workout. You know, it dilates all of your arteries, and so if you have any sort of problems like this, it could kill you, right? So talk to someone about it first. Like I said, it might be worth it because it has so many positive side effects or effects, right? They did that Swedish study with 30 minutes of sauna use a day, every day, reduced all cause mortality by 40%, right? It has all these effects. And I learned about this actually from Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She went on the Joe Rogan Experience. She's been on there multiple times. I'd recommend watching all of those. You might even be able to contact her. Like I emailed her personally and she responds, right? So if she's willing to take the heat for a little bit of research, because she loves research, you might be able to do something about that, right? She might be willing to look into this, you know, and she was the one that had done a lot of that sauna research, and you know, she's a biogeneticist or I don't know. She knows all about like the endocrinology or something like that. I don't know, but she's huge into this, and you know, Metokur has a lot of trolls and people going after him. So she might be willing to take the heat for a little bit of this research, you know. Um, so yeah, that would be, I guess, my recommendation is, let me just kind of summarize real fast. Don't look for one thing, look for 3 to 5 things. You know, the pituitary gland, that's a good place to start. I think the kidneys or adrenal glands, also a great place to start because they tend to work together as well. The connective, some sort of hereditary connective tissue disorder. And then what was the other one? Well, anxiety, obviously, yeah. Pulmonary, I mean, thyroid, yeah. If he might have some sort of autoimmune disorder as well. That's definitely something. B cell lymphoma. I mean, yeah, he has cancer, but again, who knows how many of these things are connected? That's kind of the problem, right? It might be the cancer. It might be the cancer doing something to his pituitary gland and his thyroid gland. They all control chemicals, the kidney, whatever, right? Legg-Perthes syndrome. It could be a variant of that, or Legg-Perthes could be the variant. It's Legg-Perthes, I think. Legg-Perthes. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. My hope is that, and I'd recommend yogurt and sauna and contacting Dr. Rhonda Patrick, right? Because she might be interested. But yeah, this is beyond me. But I'm hoping that maybe I could reframe some of this stuff and be like, here's what I'd recommend. Here's the areas I would look into, and let some of the autistic people on the internet like look into this stuff, because there's books, like there's medical libraries out there full of books with all the rare shit, and nobody knows what's in them. None of these doctors, all the doctors he's going to, I guarantee, like, I'm really shocked that no one has made some sort of what's the dude, the little genie, the cartoon genie guy that guesses whatever character you put in, and it learns as you say. You're like, oh, it's the Hulk, because he asks questions about it, right? And you're like, well, and then if you stump him, he's like, well, what separates it? And he continues to ask questions as you go through, and he guesses the character. I'm surprised someone hasn't made something similar to that for medical diagnoses, right? But I leave that to my autistic brethren, I suppose. The the autistic gamers that are into this stuff. Um, yeah. So that's it for today. Hopefully you guys found this informative. Hopefully something happens because you know I kind of like him. I don't like everything he's done, but I find him interesting. This guy and maybe DSP are some of the people that I want to see keep going just to see what happens. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm, you know, maybe I have a sick sense of humor or whatever, but I'm just like I kind of see what happens if these people. I want these people to succeed, and I want everyone else to rage about it. You know what I mean? Like that's just me. I don't support everything they do, but it's like maybe it's just the fact that everyone's so pissed at them. Maybe that's what I find hilarious. I don't know, but that's it for today. I really hope you guys can do something about this. So that's basically it. Questions, comments, concerns, let me hear them. I read all of them. I try and respond to all of them as well. And I hope to see you guys next time. Till then, guys, take care.